Hello, hello. As you join, say hello and where you're watching from. There's children outside, so if you hear strange noises, it's because there's children outside. My children are with their father. So whatever noises you hear, it's not in my house, I swear. Swear, swear, swear. Hi, Belle. All is one reflection. I'm gonna give it a couple more. I don't know what noise they're making outside, but it's peculiar at best. Peculiar at best. It's it's like that elephant noise when you blow in the plastic. I don't know what they're doing out there. It's coming from the back. I don't know. I got nothing. Oh, it's a cough. That's what that noise is. That was somebody coughing. Ew. They need to do something. They need some cough medicine or something. That's horrible. Jesus. Also, I got a gift, y'all. I got another gift. So I'm gonna share my gift in like the middle this time. But as you come in, say hello and say where you are watching from. This isn't like Zoom. I can't tell who's here. Hi, Paige. All is one. Is Omobolo a teen here too? I see 3 people, and only 2 said hi. But you know what? There's a couple people that be watching that don't never say nothing. Never, never, never. I'm not giving them random kids some elderberry syrup, girl. That's for me and my childrens. And the people that I sell it to, they can buy it for $35. But I ain't gonna just give it away to some random kids outside. Ooh, this curl look real good, y'all. Look at that. You see that? That one look. Ooh, it's bouncy. We're gonna give people a couple more minutes and then we're gonna get started. A link to purchase then. Listen, they can have me $35 in cash. The way they coughing, they can cash at me. Zelle, something. It's nasty. They got me all distracted, y'all. Am I lagging? Cause it say that my thing is low. I just want to make sure I'm not lagging. Brit, Omobolo Atin, if you open the live chat. So let me see if I can do it real quick. So when you're on YouTube, I'm gonna go look at myself. So I'm gonna have to immediately mute because that's not gonna work. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, so I'm on mute now. So oh, I hit pause, not mute. Okay, so when you're on here, there should be because it's my actual page, it won't show me. But there should be like a live chat option. And you just gotta click that. And then you'll be able to chat. Let me do it from my phone. Um, um, so when I pull it up on my phone, it's automatically up here. It should look like that though. And you should be able to see all the things. But if it's not up there, hold on, let me get rid of it. So if it's not up there and it looks like this, you just hit live chat and then you should be able to talk and type stuff. But make sure you're signed in too. You can't just be you got to be actually signed in order to talk things, to say the things. Anyway, hello everybody. Now that we've got distracted talking about other things. Hi everyone. I am Omawari Ogbonyomi and this is Enchanting Your Children Part 2. Part 1 was last week. The link, if you didn't see that, is in this description. And then if you didn't get to watch the video about enchanting your children with your cycle, that link is also in there. If you're not a menstruating woman, you can still do it. I give examples in there. If you're not even someone with a uterus, there is ways to do it still. So watch the video anyway, because I go over all that in the video. Good. Okay. I'm glad that it's working. That's the Ori girl. You're funny. But wait. Oh, kind of. Low key, because that's where all that stuff was from this morning that I done washed out. Let me fix that. Give my hair some more volume, like I need more volume. Hi, Omobola team. Okay, good. All right. So, also, for those who weren't here earlier, I got another gift, and so I'm going to show you my gift here at some point, and I'm very excited about my gift. It excites me. I was excited about the last gift too, and I'm excited about this gift. I'm excited about gifts. I'm a Leo, so I really like gifts, but you're never going to get me to ask for something, and I'm never going to ask for something, but I definitely want all the gifts, like things from the heart where you're like, I saw this and I thought of you, and I'm going to be like, ah! It could be a t-shirt. It could be a cupcake. I don't care. It could be, for a while, people were like gifting me lipstick. Like they would like find cute lipsticks. And so I have like a million shades of lipstick because people knew that I really liked the lips. That was before COVID. And then we had to wear masks, and I was super sad that I couldn't wear the lips. So anyway, so part 1 was like kind of like the nice version. This is the not so nice version of this class. I'm going to be cursing. I didn't really curse a lot in the last one, but Nicole was there kind of like egging me on. But we're going to start this off with like the bullshit that we say to children that is absolutely not enchanting them. It's enchanting them, but in a negative way. And then we're going to swing it back around to the good stuff, and I'm going to show you guys my gift. So the first thing that we really need to stop saying to our children, whether in actual words or in just our actions, is do as I say, not as I do. Please go straight to Christian hell with this. Stop saying it. Be mad at me. I don't care. I said what I said. This is one of the dumbest things that we do and say and exemplify as parents. You're out here basically acting a whole fool, and then you're telling your children not to do the thing that they see you doing because it's bad for them. And then you're expecting them in their child brain to reconcile these things, and it just doesn't work. I know I'm choosing violence early in this video, but I'm sick of our community in itself just like condoning the horrible practices of parenting that were used on us. And then, like, have you ever heard monkey see, monkey do? That's exactly what children do. So when they see you doing these things, they're going to do those exact things. And then for some reason, we think that our children are so scared of us that they're just going to listen. Like, you've put the fear in God in them. And so just because you said words, they're going to do it. That's not going to work. And you should probably see a therapist about that, because you're clearly delusional. Like, that's not how humans work, let alone children, right? Children almost never listen. We spend a good portion of the first years of their life telling them not to do something. And then we have to tell them to do the same thing, not to do the same thing repeatedly. So what makes you think that just because they got couple more years in life, that us just merely telling them no is going to be enough? It's not going to work. You could try instead explaining the behavior or why the behavior is acceptable for you and not for them. So when it comes to something like drinking, you can say, the reason why this is not acceptable for you is because you're 8. Your little body doesn't know how to process regular food all the time, let alone some alcohol. And alcohol in moderation can be okay, but not in a whole lot. So you can't be an alcoholic being just drunk all up in the house in front of your kids and then tell your kids not to drink. It's not going to work like that. They may not drink just because they don't want to look like you, or they're going to start to drink because now you're like giving them trauma. And so they're going to drink to deal with their trauma that you caused because you're an alcoholic. So you really have to explain things and be careful with your words with your children. And even like something simple like staying up late, you can explain to your children why you can stay up past 9 p.m. and they can't. You can have a decent conversation with a child to get them to understand that. That's not a big deal. We have to start talking to our children again and treating them like humans, like I said in the first video, instead of treating them like possessions and tiny slaves, because that's not very good for your children. And dismissing them simply because they are children is wrong on a billion levels. So we really have to stop doing that. The second thing is stop crying before I give you something to cry about. What? Your child is hurt, either emotionally or physically, enough to cry. And so then you're threatening them with physical violence. Again, seek therapy, because that just doesn't make sense. All is one, Iola. That just doesn't make sense. Your child is in pain. Again, either emotionally or physically. And so you're threatening them because they're expressing their discomfort, because their discomfort is enough to make them cry, and you don't like crying. So therefore, you're going to give them something to cry about by physically harming them. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to anybody who's watching? There's a few of you in here now. That makes sense to anybody? Doesn't make sense to me. Threatening them only conditions them to think that their feeling of pain, whether it be emotional or physical, doesn't matter. They're invalidating whatever emotion or feeling that they're going through by saying that it's not valid and it's actually pissing you off to the point of violence. That's what you're saying. Do you see how crazy that sounds? Like when it's actually like when we're talking about it. And how many times, I know I heard it as a child. I heard it from other people's parents to them. It's always in jokes, right? Like anytime, for those of us who are old enough to watch like Comic View and stuff like that, before you could watch all the different things on the internet, we had shows where comedians would talk about stuff like that. And that was like a real life thing. That's a common saying, especially in our community. And it's absolutely crazy. Um, this will cause the children to eventually bottle those emotions and create coping mechanisms that are likely to be very unhealthy, i.e., drinking or drugs. And so, what you really need to be doing is finding the root cause of the crying by talking to them. Because if they hurt themselves and they're crying, it's like the craziest thing to tell them to stop crying because they're physically hurt. I don't care if it's just smashing their finger or any type of physical pain. Like, you don't get to dictate how painful something is to somebody else. Now, sometimes kids over exaggerate, and the least bit of comfort, they freak out and cry. But then that needs, again, to be a conversation. You need to have a conversation with them about how to deal with being uncomfortable without it leading to a complete meltdown, because that's not productive either. And if you can't figure that out, you need to get them in front of somebody who can actually figure that out. A therapist, I mean, they have them at school. Like, you don't even have to go out of your way. You can literally just talk to someone at the school and see if the in-school counselor can figure out a way to work around that. You don't have to do anything complicated. Some schools provide actual outside counseling where they have an outside counselor come in and take time with your children. Both of my kids, over the course of their time in school, have had to do that. My young person is currently in therapy because of their miscellaneous situations that happened last year that they had to deal with. And it was a lot for a then 8-year-old to deal with. So I put them in therapy because they had some medical situations that were like kind of a big deal, and it caused other things. So now they have very sensitive to sound and touch. So I can't simply just scratch my leg if I have on jeans. When I had nails, I couldn't just tap things because it really, really bothered them. So instead of berating them about it, I just don't do those things. Or when I do it, I'm like, oh, sorry, my leg itched. And then they're like, eh. And then we go about our day. But like when they go like this and they freak out because I'm moving the cushions on the couch, which is like almost like a denim material, which they absolutely hate. I can't just yell at them because they don't like the sound, because they're very sensitive to sound right now, because they had a whole brain biopsy. So you have to like keep those things into consideration with your children. Find out why they're uncomfortable. And if it's emotional, then you definitely need to talk about that, because you can't just pretend like your kids don't have emotions and don't need to learn how to process them. That's why we have a bunch of us, people my age, around the 40s and up, who don't know how to, who are just now learning to process emotions, if we know how at all, because we were taught to keep that shit to ourselves. And it didn't really work in practice. Like, once I got to the point where I was like awakening spiritually, I started having panic attacks because I had held on to emotions for over 30 years. And all of a sudden, now I'm 33, feeling emotions, and I don't know how to process them because I had shut my emotions off for so long, because I was taught that my emotions basically didn't matter. So stop doing that. Which leads into this. And I never understood this one either. This hurts me more than it hurts you. Bitch, you're a liar and the truth ain't in you. Because no, it doesn't. There's no way. There's no way when you are physically whooping someone and you say this hurts me more than it hurts you. No, it doesn't. Your hand might hurt for a little bit because you were, beating your child. But the emotional, first of all, the physical and emotional pain is going to last much longer with your child than it will with you. So I don't even know why this is saying. And y'all wonder why people end up in domestic violence situations repeatedly. And here's an example. So you've repeatedly conditioned them to think that violence is love. And imagine hearing a man say that to his girlfriend after he beat her. I hit you because I love you. Now, those of you who have been in domestic situations may have even heard that before. And it sounds absolutely crazy when you're not in the situation, right? But in that situation, it feels completely different, especially if you had types of situations in your childhood where you were made to think that person was disciplining you because they love you, and they were disciplining you in a way that was actually harmful, not just like, oh, you're on punishment because you have bad grades. No, 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 we're not talking about that. We're talking about violence. Things that just really didn't need to happen. um you're literally giving them like belt marks and handprints on their ass, but you're telling them that it hurts you more. um if you feel the action was bad enough to whoop them, just whoop them, but don't like insult their intelligence by making it seem like you're hurt by it, because if you're hurt by it, you shouldn't do it. That's like the easiest way around that. um and like I said, and if you're hurt by it, just don't whoop them. That sounds absolutely trash of you. And if you felt guilt, it's because you knew you were wrong. So apologize, because really that's the only thing you can do at this point. Admit you were wrong, apologize, and then don't do it again. The best apology is changed behavior. um, Remember that. Remember how we say that to adults. Remember how we're in a relationship and you're with some ashy individual who does ashy things, and they apologize but they keep doing it, and then so after a while you're like, the best apology is change behavior, but you're still beating the shit out of your kids. So there's that. And then you're apologizing, but then you're doing it again. So that doesn't really work in real life. I think you'll kind of get the point on that. But we really need to do better about when it comes to discipline. We talked about this in the last video. I talked about this in my very first video, my generational curse video that was on Ia's page. I'll have to find it again in order to repost it since it's not on my page, and I think she made it private. But beatings are a learned behavior from slavery. It's basically a generational curse. And it goes back to all the things I said about in part one about not owning your children and giving them a space to safely make mistakes while you can still help them through them. So you should definitely go watch that again. And like, have I smacked my kids' hands? Yes. Have I tapped a thigh? Yes. But like, that was when they were like 2 or 3, and they were pure tyrants and terrorists, and we don't negotiate with terrorists because they don't even understand words. So sometimes, yes, you're gonna have to tap a hand. You might have to, pop a leg, but like beating your child, come on, let's be serious. Especially once they get older, like a 9-year-old, you're really beating a 9-year-old, really, because now you are just plain old a bully. Because sometimes with a little kid, they'll keep doing stuff. You can say no until you're blue in the face, and they're never going to get it. They'll hurt themselves and keep doing it. But you smack their hand, and they're like, oh, hold on, wait a minute. Then they may stop. But it shouldn't be like a habit. You shouldn't do this constantly. The fourth one, I've actually heard this, not in real life, but I've heard it on like TV shows. And if I ever heard it in real life, I would cuss somebody out. This is my least favorite thing. Yeah, this is probably my least favorite one. Are you stupid? Bitch, are you stupid? You're literally insulting the intelligence of a child. Do you feel better? Do you feel more of an adult? Do you think your kid feels better? Do you think that questioning their intelligence will help them build confidence? Go to Christian hell. Just go straight to Christian hell with that. And I don't really have anything else to say about that because I'll get irritated. And I'm trying not to be irritated. Fifth thing. This one probably has one of the most lasting effects because of how it comes off. I don't care. Nobody cares. So this usually comes out when your kid is showing you something. Um, and kids always want to show you something when you're not paying attention. They want to show you something when you're trying to get out of the house, when you're cooking, when you're cleaning up, when you're irritated about some ashy individual. They always want to be like, hey, look, Mom, I can do this. And instead of just saying, oh, okay, that's great, you say, I don't want to see that. Nobody cares. This is one of the things that plays back in people's heads before they commit suicide. Like, this is one of those things that becomes an internal voice. So instead of you wanting to show off your accomplishments or even merely just acknowledge your accomplishments, you get the sense that nobody cares. And that's literally what depression and panic attacks are made of. It's horrible. And I can go on forever about that one, but I have a lot of other things to do. So I want to hear from everyone who's watching. Type in the comments something that you were either told as a child or that you heard from other people that has had a lasting negative impact on you. And I want other people to hear these things because so they don't repeat them to their children, but also sometimes we don't think about how damaging our words are to our children, or we think that they will understand why later on and forget it altogether, or they'll become an adult and be like, yeah, I totally needed that tough love. And that's not really always the case. So I just want to hear from you guys. If you never had that situation, great. Type, I had great parents or a great upbringing in the comments. But if you did have that type of situation, or you heard something, or I missed one because there's so many. But if there's something you can think of that we really need to stop saying verbally to our children, go ahead and type that in the comments. So moving on from that. We're going to go back to the good, positive stuff. So ways that you can enchant your children, right? And I talked about this one a couple weeks ago in the groups because I posted a meme that had Batista on it about soup is witchcraft, right? Because you take herbs and dead animals and you put it in a cauldron and you stir it up and it makes things better, basically, right? But yes, cooking, actually, you can enchant your children with the food you give them. Every kid has that phase where like they only want chicken nuggets and hot dogs. That's normal. And the only way to avoid that phase is to have never given them those foods, right? Which is near impossible. Like near impossible. Especially with certain living situations, right? If you're a single parent or if you're just a working parent and the other parent's also working, or whatever your situation is, sometimes it's hard to like avoid just making a hot dog or some ramen, right? I'm going to talk about that comment here in a second. So crock pots are like an amazing invention, right? So you could throw something in there in the morning and it'll be done by dinner time. Put it on low, you're good, right? And like stuff like spaghetti sauce, like when I make real spaghetti sauce, not the like pre-made kind, I put it in a crock pot. I'll cook the meat first, and then I put the sauce and all the parts in there and mix the meat in and just literally let that stuff cook on low for hours, usually about 4 hours. And then I can use that sauce for anything. You can make it for Johnny Marzetti. You can use it for spaghetti. You can use it for lasagna. You could take it and freeze it and then just thaw it in like portions, and it'll make things a little bit easier in the long run. My children, thank God, got over the hot dog phase, but then recently they're on the anything with like a spaghetti type sauce phase. So they don't do too much lasagna because it takes a long time because you still got to bake it, right? And they like food fast because they're freaking beasts. So Johnny Marzetti and spaghetti are like things like all the time, constantly, or pizza. And so I can use the same sauce for pizza as well and just get the pre-made crust type thing. You can get the ones that are already a crust, or you can get the bag of stuff and make dough, or you could do it from scratch if you're really into that. But you don't always have time, right? So you can literally just get one of the big pre-made ones, put the sauce on there, put cheese on there, put whatever toppings, if you eat pepperoni or whatever, put it in the oven. It'll be done pretty quick. But you already had the sauce made and you made it days ago. Like, simple things like that. Beef stew. My small person loves a beef stew. And I don't, whatever, I'm not upset. And they also love vegetables because, at least my small person does. The big one does not. Small person loves vegetables. Small person will eat pretty much any vegetable that I make ever in life. And they love all the fruit. But I did that on purpose because my older child, my son, he didn't care at first. He would eat anything. And I made, basically, they ate what we ate. I had a little baby food maker. So once they were starting to get into solid food, and you have to do like one at a time, right, to make sure there's no allergies. So I would take the green beans and cook them basically how we were going to have them. And then I would just put some in the baby food maker without all the seasonings. I would put them in the baby food maker, do it that way, and then they eat what we eat. So I'm not making two separate meals. And I saved a lot of money because I wasn't also buying baby food. And then all those little cans, that's just a whole lot of waste for no reason. So I started doing that. And then when they were able to eat more complex things, I would literally just take little parts of what we were already having, put it in the baby food maker. So like spaghetti, right? Put it in the baby food maker. And then so they were eating spaghetti and so were we. It's just their version was a little different, a little blended. And so that's something that you can do with them when they're younger so that when they become older, you're not making 15 separate meals. Now, because of the living situation, since I'm no longer married to their dad and a bunch of other things have happened. So I literally end up making 2 meals sometimes. Either I eat what they eat, but like when my boyfriend lives here or when he's actually here, he's usually not eating. He's not going to eat Johnny Marzetti and spaghetti every other day. He's just not. He's a manly man. He wants like steak and shrimp and fried fish, and we don't do too much fried chicken. And the kids will eat some of that sometimes, but like they also won't. And I'm not finna waste steak on a 9-year-old who's just gonna eat 2 pieces or eat 1 piece, lick the other 3, and nobody else can eat it. I'm not doing it. Absolutely not doing it. So get a crock pot, something like that. You could also enchant your ingredients. So you can use the Encyclopedia of Magic Herbs or like some other resource, if you can find it, to learn the magical properties of the herbs that you're using, and then literally enchant them before you put them in the pot. And you don't have to go through the entire process of setting sacred space and doing all that. You can if you have the time, but if you don't have the time, you can still enchant things as you put it together and while you're stirring as well, because you're still gonna have to stir it. So you can enchant it while you're stirring. It's kind of like the whole cooking with love thing, right? When you're cooking with love, it's the intention because you want people to enjoy the food. Well, you still can do that when you're not like feeding random people. Sorry, I got like hiccups. When you're not like feeding random people, like you can do it literally just for your kids. There is nothing wrong with that. And I have like a whole bunch of videos on enchanting and some of the herbs. So if you go to the channel, and you can find all those on there. And I'm going to start doing regular videos again, not just lives. So make sure you're subscribed and you get notifications when I release videos, because those are coming. So somebody did put something in the comments of things. This one. So you ain't shit, just like your whatever parent, or you just look like your damn whichever parent, right? I think I kind of talked about that one last week. That's wild that you would tell your kids they ain't shit. Um, that's another thing that's like an internal voice. So now every time they try to do something great or be better, they're just gonna keep hearing you ain't shit. They'll do something good, do something great, but then they still hear you ain't shit. And so now they don't have the motivation to do anything good or great because they're not going to get acknowledged for it anyway. Do you see how that works? That's not that's not what we want to be doing to our kids. So um, thank you for that, Omobola team. So then the next one is spend time with them. So this may not seem like magic, but it is. And this can be done indoors or outdoors, but outside is definitely preferred. But like playing games like Monopoly and Uno with your kids is like severely underrated. Like we have the best time in my house. Like my young person loves Uno. We played a lot of Uno while they were in the hospital, and they had the nurses playing Uno. They have their therapist playing Uno. Like they really love Uno. So um, we don't really play Monopoly because I don't think we have one. The one I had was like a Twilight Monopoly, and I didn't really like Twilight, but it was vampire, so whatever. But like stuff like that, playing games with your kids is actually really fun, especially once they get to like a certain ages where they can understand the game and they can play without like your assistance. Oh, playing playing games with your kids is really fun. Um, Going on like a nature walk or to the park with your kids can also be very fun. I'm the silly goofy parent, so maybe it's just me. I have always enjoyed being outside with my kids and going to the park. So, and my kids, there's this thing called Mommy Monster. So, and there's a Mommy Monster park because in this park, part of the actual like play area, there's a part in the middle where you can kind of like, if you're standing right there in the middle, you can kind of touch almost the entire thing. And so that's where Mommy Monster stands. So Mommy Monster stands in there and they have to try and get past me. And I have to try and like grab them, kind of like a zombie type situation. They freaking love it. I Up until last year, my 14-year-old was still willing to participate in this. Um, that's like how we roll. Like we are straight goofballs. Okay. The other day it was a really, I'm in Ohio, we had like a 70-degree day on Thursday, and so my small person wanted to go to the park, so that's what we did because I was going to go for anyway to go see Oshun and all that. So they wanted to go to the park and they wanted to swing, so we literally swang on the swings for like a half an hour. And then we walked over to this part. It's called a living park, where it's just like a bunch of big cut trees, like tree stumps and stuff, but they like cut them so that you can manipulate and move them. And so we kind of manipulated and moved that. We did this balancing thing because there's one that's kind of like a weird balancing thing. And we did that. And it was like really fun. It was just me and my small person. We were there for probably like 45 minutes, just chilling. Those little helicopters that fall on the ground, we were throwing those up to see how far the wind would take them. And I kept saying, Iba she oya. Oya is the wind, right? And so when I was doing that, the wind kept picking up. And then when I would stop, the wind would go down. And so my small person is like, keep saying it. And I said, you got to help. And so we're just throwing these helicopters in the air saying, Iba she oya. And so that was really a fun time. And that's a way to get your kids included in the practice without like preaching to them or whatever. But that's just like something that we do. But yeah, we really spend a lot of time together. We sit and we eat dinner together, or we eat at the table together, and that opens the way for conversations. It could be about politics, it could be about Dragon Ball, whatever usually the 15-year-old wants to talk about, because he kind of like drives the conversation at first, and then we spin off and talk about 30 different things. But it's like, and these aren't even lectures, these are like real conversations. And sometimes they'll ask me questions about certain things that most kids don't ask their parents about because they're scared to. But we have like this good relationship where they know that they can like ask me weird ass questions and I'm not even going to be mad. Like, oh, this is what we're talking about. Okay, well, here we go. And then we talk about it. It could, like, we've had conversations about sex before. We've had conversations about menstruation, childbirth. We've had conversations about relationships, about marriage, about divorce, all those things. We've actually had those conversations at the dinner table. So, um, it's really good to actually just spend time with your kids. That's really the stuff they're going to remember. They're not going to remember the Jordans. They may remember the video games. They're not going to remember the 50,000 toys. They're going to remember the conversations and the time that you spent with them. My dad was we did stuff like we would go to the movies together and stuff. But that wasn't the stuff that I paid attention to most when I was with my dad. It was the conversations that we had that meant the most. And I was a daddy's girl, so there was that too. So the next thing is that you're going to have to teach them yourself. At some point, our society got this idea in our heads that school was going to teach our kids everything, and it really doesn't. And we still have to teach our kids most things, really, because in school, they learn how to interact with their peers. They learn some versions of discipline. They learn like deadlines. And they learn, math, science, that type of thing, the normal school stuff, right? But you still have to help them with their homework. You can't put that on the teacher. And you want to know what it is that they're learning. And it keeps you smart, in all honesty. Like, no one wants to say, these damn kids and their arithmetic. Like, nobody wants to hear that person. We're not that old, okay? Most of us are in our 30s with an elementary school kid. Or more. I have a high school and an elementary school kid. So like being a part of their school life, it makes you pay attention. So you know what they're doing. And if they're struggling, you can assist them, or you can say, hey, my kid's not getting this, before it becomes a problem. So they're not coming home with F's. Because now, if you're not paying attention to their homework, why are you yelling them about their grades when you don't even know what it is that they're learning and that they're even struggling with it, or how they're struggling, or why they're not doing it? So you really have to be on top of that, particularly if they are struggling and having bad grades. And another thing that, like Black history, they're not going to teach our kids Black history any other time than Black History Month. And you can't fit the whole of Black history in a month. We already know this, right? And then also, why are you letting other people tell them who they are based on, and in a way, like you're almost letting them dictate who we are as a people by allowing Black history to only be taught to your children during February. Like, you have to take some responsibility for that. However you do that is fine. I mean, if you have something in your city or nearby, like we have the Railroad Museum in Cincinnati, which is like 2 hours away, but it's still something to do. There's hella books at this point. There's movies, there's TV shows, there's other things that they can do to learn about the history of us that aren't taught in school. Even just introducing them to, Toni Morrison or Maya Angelou or Langston Hughes or Wynton Marsalis. Like, there's so many Black artists and poets and authors and even music that is available that we can find now at a couple of taps on our phone. We can find basically anything. Hell, Google at this point, like, who really was Martin Luther King? Because all they're going to learn is the I Have a Dream speech and that he was assassinated. But they're not going to know anything else about him. Maybe they'll hear about Coretta, maybe. But then all the things that Coretta did. The only thing they're going to learn about Rosa Parks is that she didn't get up on the bus. But there's so much more to learn about that, especially because when she died recently, she was living in a situation that we would have never imagined that Rosa Parks should be living in, because it's freaking Rosa Parks. But she didn't have very much when she died. And no one was talking about her the whole time, except for, hey, she wouldn't get off the bus. She's a civil rights leader. but no one was doing anything in her life after that. She was kind of one of those things. It's like you get talked about all the time, but nobody actually cares. And so we have to do better about teaching our kids um, about our history and the proper way, because we all know that in schools, especially depending upon where you live, it's not going to be taught in a way that's honest. I'll put it like that. Um, and also, school isn't teaching them how to cook anymore. Like, I had home ec in like sixth grade, which was in the 90s. Um, and we didn't have it by the time I got to high school. It was something that got taken away. So they're not learning to cook. So you should really definitely start cooking with your kids, teaching them to wash dishes, do laundry, fold laundry, clean the tub, clean the toilet, wipe a mirror, vacuum, sweep. Uh, like, I don't want to do all this shit by myself. Keeping up a household is a lot. And so teaching your kids how to do things around the house will keep those things done, keep them off your plate, and then also teach them how to do it. And then once they get in high school, they really need to start doing stuff if they haven't already. So I understand you want kids to be kids sometimes, especially if you grew up where you didn't really have a childhood and you felt like you were the parent in some cases. I understand. So, but by the time they get to high school, you really have to start teaching them things. Because I remember my GM at one of my jobs had to teach someone how to sweep. And this person was 19 years old because they had never learned how to sweep in their whole 19 years. They'd never been handed a broom and told to sweep something. So they had no idea how to sweep and get the stuff in the dustpan and pick up the dustpan and put it in the trash. They didn't. That was like freaking neurosurgery to them. So when I was married, I had to teach my husband how to cut grass, because although he lived in a situation where someone definitely could have taught him how to cut grass because his grandparents had this huge yard and he spent lots of time there, they never taught him how to cut grass. And so here I am, grown and younger than him, but we owned a house with a very big yard. And so I had to teach him how to cut grass because no one did it. He didn't get his license until a couple months before our first child was born, which was 4 years after we got married. And so I ended up, had his family actually prepared him to be an adult, we may still be married. Because the biggest gripe in our marriage is that I was doing everything, mostly because he just never was taught how. And this went on for 14 years because it was so set in him not to do these things. It just wasn't, I just couldn't raise a whole nother person. I wasn't going to raise an adult who was older than me. And so that ultimately is like the major reason why we are no longer married. So when you think about it like that, because his family didn't prepare him to be an adult, they greatly impacted his future and happiness. Yes, he did get a wife and was married and did things in the proper way, but he ended up losing part of that because he wasn't properly prepared to be an adult. And he was stubborn because he was always given everything as a child, and he didn't know how to be a partner. And that's another big problem. When you give everything to your children and you don't teach them how to work for things and do things for themselves, or to work with someone to get things done, it's like chores. If we are all doing the chores together at the same time, it's not like I'm just sitting on the couch while they're cleaning, right? We're all working together to get things done. Or they see me doing something, and so they go do something else just randomly. Like my son, he's the trash person. But earlier today, I made the small person help him because it was more than what he could take by himself. And so I'm teaching them to work together to get things done so that we can do other things that we need to do. Little things like that, putting the couch pillows back where they go, because the little person, when they do sit on the couch, they have to sit in a very specific place. on the couch, and they have to have their blanket laying on the couch so that they're not actually touching the fabric because they hate the feel of the fabric. So that's fine. But then you have to put the pillows back. So teaching them how to put the pillows back and in what order the pillows go so that it looks nice, right? Somebody that I work with, they have a about to be teenage son. He's 12 and he has his own bathroom. And so he has to clean his own bathroom because he's the only one that ever uses it, him and his friends. So when his friends are over, they're in there. So he has to clean the bathroom, top to bottom, the whole entire thing. And for a while, he was like really upset that he had to do this. And then they had to have a conversation. And his dad is like, well, you see my house is clean when you come over, right? From your mom's. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, and your mom's house is clean, right? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, so eventually you're gonna like move out, right? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, so do you, when you go over to your friend's house, how do you feel about the way their house looks? And he's had this situation where he'd go to his friend's house and it was like nasty. So he wouldn't eat or anything like that. And he wouldn't want to stay over there too long because the house was dirty, right? And he was like, so would you ever want somebody to say that about your house? And he was like, oh, absolutely not. And he was like, what about, you get older, you have your own place and you have a girl over. What, don't you have to keep that bathroom clean? Do you want her to be sitting on your toilet to pee and see all the dust lining and the thing? And he's like, no, I don't. And so he explained it into a way that he could understand. And then after that, this was like a few weeks ago, he has had, for the past few weeks, he has not had to tell him not one time to clean. He hasn't had to ask him not once because he understands the process now. And he has friends over all the time. So he's like, I don't want my friends to think that I'm dirty. So let me just go ahead and clean my bathroom. That is the type of stuff that's like a life lesson. And he didn't do it in a demanding way. He didn't say, you're going to clean this bathroom because I said you're going to clean it. He didn't do that. He explained why. And that's all he needed. Like, he's 12. He's 12, not 2. He understands words and processes. And so treating his child like a human has caused him to develop life skills that some even adults don't even have. So again, treat your kids like people. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions, comments, or concerns? I'm going to show you guys my gift now. So if you have a question, type it in there. But so I was talking to Nicole. Nicole was in the video with me last week. Nicole's in a few of my recent videos. Nicole is a licensed therapist and a Reiki 2 practitioner, I believe. And she was talking about this book that she had got. And I was like, ooh, I might need to get that book. And just because I said that, she sent this book to me. And as soon as I opened the box, I started reading it. It's called Signs and Symbols, an illustrated guide to their origins and meanings. I'll hold it up one more time so you guys can see. I hope it's not backwards. But it is amazing. It has all the different types of signs from different cultures, what different things mean. So this page is about animals and their meanings in different cultures, which is actually very helpful because we had to do a hypothetical working with a raccoon skull. And so I had to Google, what the hell do I use a raccoon skull for in magic? This book is helpful for that type of thing, right? There's a bunch of reptiles, the different trees, Greek and Roman deities, the human body. I'm trying to find, there is a witches and Wicca thing. There's a Satan and demons. Let's see. The different angels and the different tools that they have, the different types of angels. That's all in here. This book is, first of all, let me see. This book is 337 pages long. And it talks about literally everything. It has the symbols for air and fire and water. I did see the Celtic cross in here. The different types of headwear is in here. So, oh, I can show you guys today. So, and this reminded me of this. So, I posted a few weeks ago in the group about tattoos that you get for your dearly departed. So, I can actually show y'all today that I got this tattoo. Can I show? Can you see it? Yeah, there we go. This is the tattoo I got for my dad, and he used his nickname was Chief when he was alive, and so I got a big Native American chief on my thigh, and it's probably my favorite tattoo, and it's also my least painful tattoo. I took that one like a champ. It really didn't hurt at all. I felt like she was drawing with a vibrating pen when she did it. But it has like the different symbols and meanings in different cultures. So like this page is Taoism and Shinto. This is going to be like one of my favorite books. It has the 5 Buddhas in here, like shamanism. There was voodoo in here, so let me see if I can find that page. I probably could have like tagged it, but I didn't. It has the Egyptian stuff in here, different ancestral things. They actually did. I did see something relating to the Yoruba people and Ifa in here when I was flipping through things. So, okay, I'm about to get to it. I think because I'm about to get to the voodoo page. I'm close. I remember this part, maybe. But yeah, it's a lot. Phallic symbols. You know how I love to say the word phallus, right? So they got phallic symbols and all of the types of symbols of childbirth. They do have like the different hands, like the Hamsa hand is in here. What the hands on gravestones mean, because like nobody ever thought that would have a meaning, right? So yeah, there's all types of things, and books like this are like an easy read too, to where you can use this for your kids. Like if I don't know if your kids are like my kids, but my kids ask all the random questions all the time. They want to know about everything, and so I don't want to tell them just to Google it. But there are sometimes they ask things and I actually have a book for it. And so having a book for it and then like pulling out the book, showing them the pictures and explaining to it like the different types of birds, right? This is something that kids would ask about. This is why you need to have books. And I know a lot of kids don't like to read. I hated reading as a child, not because I couldn't do it, but just because I thought everything was so boring. But if you could find something that they like to read about, just buy all those books. Like, I don't care if it's a graphic novel or not. Just get the kids off of technology. If you can get them in a book, great. As long as it's not like Playboy. Here's the divination page where it says the Yoruba people of Nigeria fill a bowl with sand and then tap it with a stick. The significance of the resulting sand pattern is interpreted by the diviner. And this is the bowl right here. So this book is freaking amazing. If you can get it, get it. Has tarot in here, has astrology. I'm really sad I can't find the voodoo page just because I'm looking for it. I'm not going to be able to find the voodoo page because I randomly found it as I was scrolling. But this is a great book. Buy books for your kids as well. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Somebody said Nicole is thoughtful. I love that. Might go grab a copy for myself. Yes, Nicole is amazing. I absolutely love Nicole. She is such a wonderful addition to our coven in so many ways. And having a therapist, like a real life licensed therapist who also practices spirituality and is spiritual and does the things and does the work every day, is really helpful to have that particular perspective in our coven. It's a breath of fresh air. She's a breath of fresh air. I love her. All the new people are a breath of fresh air, including you, Paige, and Ashley and Sonder. and Belle, my baby Belle, who is like probably the most enthusiastic person I've ever met in my life. Um, and her and I and Torre, if you're watching, we had Saturday morning group this morning, and we did heart chakra yoga, and so my chest is real open, and I'm trying not to be emotional. But yeah, it was a good time. So, nobody has any questions? No questions, comments, or concerns? This was such an easy class today. Y'all were quiet though, but it's okay. I still love you. Um, Make sure you like the video, share the video if you feel so inclined. Go watch the many other videos on the channel. There are more coming. Next week, I believe, is, let me double check. I don't want to tell you all the wrong one. But next week, again, 4:30 live, doing this all over with a new topic. And it'll be the first one of March because it's already the end of February. This is the last Saturday in February, which is absolutely crazy. Next week is spiritual obedience and accountability. So that's going to be a whole thing that we're going to talk about. So the link is already up. So if you go to the live section, it's on one of the upcoming videos. And then angel numbers is going to be on the 18th. And then my first class of April, I believe, yeah, my first class of April is gonna be a doozy. So yeah, I'm not gonna say what it is yet, but you guys will see the link up here pretty soon because it's gonna be something. And then I'm gonna try and get you guys some more videos, some regular videos in between there. But if you click the link in the description, the Enchanted Vibes link, the Linktree link, that will take you to a bunch of other stuff. How to book a reading if you want one, all that stuff is on here. Connecting with the Coven on Facebook and on Discord, that link is on there. Bunch of other stuff. Some old videos are on there too, just little shortcuts for you to get there. But definitely check out the channel. I reached 500 subscribers today, right before I went live. So thank you everyone who has been watching and subscribing over the last year. I went a long time without even putting anything on this channel, like over 6 months, basically. And so thank you for sticking out with me and for watching all the things. I really appreciate you guys. And remember to keep your head so high you don't even see the haters. Peace.